Hi, and welcome back. In this segment, we're going to discuss with our judging panel specifically what it is that they do while the band is performing and you're watching on TV. They provide the bands with their real-time impressions and commentary while the performance is going on. And they do that through what was at the time tape recorders when it first started, and now digital MP3 recorders. It's important to note that back in 1991, when the current judging system is in place, and I say that in quotation marks because the current system has modernized and grown as the bands have grown. But prior to that, the judging system, first of all, had not changed for 40 years. It was designed by the city, the judges were picked by the city, and the string bands didn't know who they were, and there were 6 judges. The judging system at that time was 3 captions. Music was 40 points, presentation was 20 points, and costume was 40 points, all totaled for 100 points. And then the judging system, there was a proposal, a rule change, brought forth after the 1990 parade to what the system was at that time was 50 points for music, 40 points for presentation, and 10 points for costume. Now, that's all that it was. It was a rules proposal. It didn't really develop a judging system, and that's when the String Band Association Judging Committee was born, and they've been in place ever since. What also evolved out of that in developing the judging system is that we introduced into the string band judging the judge's commentary aspect of the performance. Prior to 1990, would simply take their score sheet. They would circle a number, and then that would be it. Maybe they'd write a one-word phrase, great, good, well done, something like that. But that was really all the feedback outside of a number that the judges would get. Now, the bands get a recording of their performance and the judge reacting to what it is that they're seeing and telling them what they're doing well and what they could do better. During this 4.5-minute time, the judges have to think and react very, very quickly. Well, you're one of our more recent judges, and while we judge marching bands and their 8-minute shows, what's one of the things that jumped out at you when your first year judging string band?
I learned quickly in my first year that you cannot wait or think too much or not talk during the performance, because you have to comment on and almost react to everything that's coming in front of you because it happens so fast. But that commentary, I know, is so critical for the staffs and for the members. So what I've always tried to do is just give them as much information as I possibly can, with hopefully not missing things.
If you go back all the way to the very, very beginning that John just talked about, and at the beginning, you had a piece of paper in front of you, and you maybe wrote something down. Frankly, by the time the show was over, you had to try to remember and write things down in the old days of judging. Now you can react, and oftentimes it's your expression. You're just, if you exhale, somebody hears it on the tape and they react to hearing it on the tape when they're listening to it. Or if you just say, oh, that can say more than 3 paragraphs of anything that you're saying, because you've just reacted. And as an effect judge, I often tell people, okay, if I talk a lot, but if you get me to shut up for a few seconds or 10 seconds in the middle of your performance when something's going on and you just hear moans and groans, you've connected. You're doing something that's going to be memorable.
Thanks, Larry. And what I'd like to do now is give you a little bit of a sample of a previous performance, string band performance, and what the process actually sounds like, what a judge is giving back to the bands while their performance is actually going on. This is a sample from 2014. The band was Quaker City, and the judge is Gary Ulrich, one of our own on this call this evening.
Is this fun or what? Great horn effect. great simultaneous responsibility, dancing footwork while playing. Oh, that was fun. Great job, saxophones. Oh yeah, saxophones. Wow. I like this. Ripping all covers off the banjos. Oh yeah. Oh wow, is this awesome? Way to go, guys. That's hot. Wow, what an intellectual moment this is from a performer's perspective. Oh, I like the shading a lot, dynamically. Great tension release. Use of percussion to kick the licks. Really, really nice writing. Well thought out. Attention to detail. Wow, wow. Very nice resolution. And lest I forget how good these guys are. Thank you. Yeah. Bravo. Awesome. High attention to detail. Very artistic. Great level of musical contribution and communication. Really well done. Really well done. Thank you. That was fun.
And I think that's a great example of a great file, great information with the band, especially to let them know where they did well, what things are working for them, and what things aren't. And I think one of the things that you also learned from listening to that, hopefully, is the emotion, the investment of our judging community, and how much they enjoy each of the performances coming down. In that case, that was Quaker City. They won first prize that year. But I could give you countless samples of bands that didn't win first prize, and the emotion would be just as real. Partially because that's what string bands go for. When they're designing the show, they're going for the wow factor.
Sure. The late great Bobby Hoffman always said, in the drum corps shows, there should be a moment every 30 seconds. With the string bands and most of the members' organizations, it's almost every second. There's a moment on top of a moment on top of a moment, and it's a wow. It's a tension and then a resolution, and it's a wow. The success criteria for effect is to get a reaction out of the audience. At that moment, the judges are the audience, and you get them to wow or laugh or whatever. That's great. The real success is when you have a quiet moment and they're absolutely captivated. As Larry said, that's silence where they're leaning in and they're listening and they're watching intently. That's real success. That's true success. But the string bands in particular comes at you so fast, it's hard to keep up. I always made a point to keep the sheet in my left hand and the recorders in my right, and then I would go back and write notes after, because you couldn't possibly stop for a second to write a note. It's just, it's a wonderful experience for us. It's a real challenge, to keep up with it.
And building off of that, I think it was last year, I was so wrapped up in the performance, and right towards the end of a show, there was a huge animal that came out, and I called it the completely wrong animal. And apparently the string band, when they listened to the files, they just lost it with laughter.
But the energy keeps going. Really appreciate the emotional intensity and the visual aspect of how you're bringing this to life. Wonderful dynamic contrast. Wonderful and great variety here as the impacts you build towards. Oh, very cool with the last visual aspect of I guess that's a frog. But it's a very good visual aspect using the floor to your abilities.
One of the things that's kind of developed from this is, which I know some of you know, but maybe not all of you realize, that, we're used to band directors and staff, marching band staff who teach the kids, listening to our files. But this has kind of become a thing now the week after the parade for the string bands. So the week after the parade, usually bands practice on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights. But the week after the parade, they usually take the week off. There's nothing really to practice for at that point. The parade's over. And they take that opportunity to gather as an organization, and they usually, it's called, tape night, still called tape nights or judges nights. And what they do is all the bands get a chance to listen to their commentary. They get to listen to all 10 files, because there's 10 judges, including the 2 captains. And in some cases, bands actually sync up that commentary with the video, as you saw that we did in our previous examples. And that's where Paul Mistake showed up, is on a tape night with Avalon, and everybody got a kick out of it. But that's something where everybody in the organization gets to listen, from the point of the folks that are in charge of the show, the music director, the arranger, the drill writer, the costume chairman who helped build the costume, but also every single musician, and all the way down to the guys that are pushing and moving props, because they're just as important to the show itself, because those props are bigger than probably any costume that you're going to see, and they can draw a lot of attention.
When you're analyzing, it's one thing because you're really into just the performance of what you're doing. When you're doing effect and you can sit back and reflect and react, you literally are thinking about the guys who build the prop. At least I am, because I'm thinking about, wow, how did they do that? Like, how did they make that happen? How did they make that happen? How did they make that happen? So for me, it becomes more of, I want to talk and sit down with the designers, because I want to hear, what their motivation was, like why they did and why they chose, what they did. And I just get to react to it. And, so it's an awesome day for us, to just be able to sit back and react to everything.